Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.
Hi, my name is Adrienne, and I am thrilled and honored to welcome you to season 4 of Black Women in Europe podcast. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been 4 years of telling our stories, shining our lights, and keeping it real. Do they even say that anymore? Anyway, we're glad you're here and keep coming back. Joining us for season 4, Season of Healing on the Black Women in Europe podcast. I am absolutely delighted to talk with a wonderful young woman. Her name is Renee Lucas. She is a healer in lots of different modalities and an entrepreneur. And I discovered her through her fabulous Tranquil Yoga Studio. It's an online yoga studio. Renee, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. And I fell in love with you ages ago, found you in Black Yoga Teachers Alliance group. And you're not only a yoga teacher and a yoga studio owner. Tell us everything you do to help us heal.
So I have a lot of different things that I utilize. So I am a certified life coach. So I do help people in that in particular industry. I am a certified yoga teacher as well with my own online yoga studio, which is Tranquil Yoga Studio. I am a ISSA personal trainer and fitness coach as well. And I'm also a herbalist as well.
Okay, I had forgotten about the fitness coach because I was trying to think. I was like, why do I want her on the show? I was like, because she covers so many bases. Okay, so let's go back. So let's talk about, okay, obviously you're good at a lot of things. Let's look at each one. What led you to be a life coach? Why would you want to do that?
So I decided to become a life coach this is after I started my yoga journey, which led me to looking inward and really understanding what I want out of life and what I want for myself and what self-care actually looks like for me. And one of those type of going through my journey, I also wanted to be able to help other people in other ways outside of yoga. So it kind of led me to my blog, selfologyhive.com, which is a bunch of different articles. If you go to that blog website, you'll see a bunch of different articles that is documenting what I've learned looking inward through my yoga journey. When it comes to self-improvement, introspective work, and what I really want out of life and what I'm learning on the way. So there's a lot of different articles about that. And that kind of led me on to the life coaching that I got certified with. I'm a solution-focused life coach through the Life Coaching Institute in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, wow. So wait a minute, say the name of your blog again. Say it again.
Selfologyhive.com.
Okay. And on that, that's a resource for people where you've curated a lot of articles about self-help and self-care that were helpful to you along your journey, right?
Yes, things that I have learned on the way while I'm going through my journey. I personally written articles just documenting what I've learned while going through my yoga journey and discovering different parts of myself that I didn't really pay attention to before.
Okay, fantastic. So you said the life coaching actually came after the yoga. So what led you to yoga?
So when it comes to yoga, when I first discovered yoga, I was looking for a hobby because I felt like my life was boring at the time. So I was looking for something that was going to benefit me physically and emotionally and just kind of all around. But I didn't necessarily like going to the gym, like on a serious note. Because there is like a gym culture and it didn't really like resonate with me.
Yeah, and that's so funny because now you're a personal trainer. So we'll talk about that too. So yeah, so you were like, but wait a minute, let's back up a second because I love what you said about that because I hate when people say they're bored. And I like there's no reason for adults to be bored. So you're like, you know what? I'm feeling bored and that's crazy. I don't need to be bored. I can be doing something. Describe like what was so boring about your life?
I wasn't really doing anything. Like I had a good full-time job. I just had got out of a relationship and I was trying to focus on myself and really lean into self-care and self-maintenance and just making sure I was maintaining myself. So and then it's kind of hard for me to do that because I have anxiety and it kind of goes through the roof when I'm around like a lot of people. And that's the thing that led me to yoga, because I did want to create a routine and create a hobby that I really enjoyed, but benefited me in several different ways. And that led me to my certification for Hot 26 and 2 yoga.
Okay, it sounds like you already had a lot of insight to like who you are. You know what I mean? Because you're like, I know I have anxiety. I know even though I've got a good job, I could be doing that. And that's really good. Have you thought about that? That's unusual because a lot of people don't can't necessarily name things or identify feelings or things that they're experiencing. But you seem really good. Like you were like, well, I know I have anxiety, so what can I do about it? Like, how did you even get to that point?
Well, I've always been a journaling type of person ever since I was young. So I've always kind of looked inward, but I didn't really know if I was doing it the right way. So this time around, when I was doing my journaling, I kind of honed in on, making sure that I had hobbies, making sure that the hobbies resonated with me. And that's why I say, like, I don't have anything against people that love going to the gym, but I did like the physical aspect of it, but the gym was not really a environment that was great for my type of personality, which is
Yeah.
why I
Yeah.
decided to branch out to yoga. And then once I started doing yoga, I knew immediately that I loved it. Now it was just about finding what type of practice within yoga that I enjoyed. And it kind of blossomed from there.
Yeah. And that's something else you and I have in common. I love journaling. I've got a really strong gratitude journal practice. I try to do my pies journaling, check it in like on physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. I don't do that daily like I do my gratitude. That's something that I can do daily to raise my game. But journaling is a mindfulness practice that is so helpful for healing in so many levels, don't you think? I mean, I
It
used to be
really
afraid.
is.
Yeah, but I remember being a younger version of myself, like a teen version of myself or preteen, and being afraid of journaling because it's vulnerable. You're putting your private thoughts down there. And I thought if anybody read those, but it's kind of like a code. People respect your journal or you know what I mean? So as an adult me, I know that it's okay to journal and it's okay for somebody to read my scariest thoughts.
Right. For me, I don't think that I would want someone to read my scariest thoughts. That sounds terrifying to me. But I always felt like journaling was a escape route for me, because when I was younger, I was living in a toxic household, and you wasn't really able to get out your feelings and your emotions. It was literally just dismissed. And I'm the baby out of six siblings. So the only way that I was able to get my feelings out without traumatizing myself was to journal.
Was to write it
And
down. Yeah.
yeah, and I knew that I couldn't keep it in because that would just create a monster. So I started journaling, and I've been journaling since. And now it kind of morphed into me like bullet journaling instead of just like writing down like everything. It kind of morphed into bullet journaling, and it's helping me more in my adulthood because it's reminding me what matters the most and what I need to focus on the most and how I need to focus on it by looking inward. And my yoga journey helps with that. So all
Yeah.
my journaling kind of led to yoga in a way.
No, and I love that. I wonder if you have all your old journals because you can see how you evolve, from your from childhood to young adulthood to to where you are now as this fantastic young woman. But let me just say, don't get me wrong, the thought of someone reading my private thoughts terrifies me. But for me, the way I'm built, I had to let that go, because if I let that keep me from writing it down, like you said, it would create a monster, right? You gotta have
Exactly.
some outlet. But trust me, I do not want my journal entries on public display. But that used to keep me from getting it out, the thought that someone would read it. So I had to get over
Exactly.
that fear. Yeah, I had to get over that fear and write it down anyway.
So for me, my fear came out in a different way. So like I've had all my journals and I would never let anybody read them, but it kind of came out through in high school. I was doing a lot of poetry. So some of that toxicity and that restraint came out through my poetry. And that's how I became a published author with my book, Young and Deprived. It's a book of poems that I wrote that kind of piggyback or piggyback off of like how I was feeling, but in a metaphoric way. So it kind of helped all in the same, it kind of morphed everything together.
Well, that sounds very healing and cathartic, because I know for me, writing is very therapeutic, very healing, you know. And I even did something the other day where I wrote down like some hurtful things, things that I wanted to get over, things that had happened in the past that I said I forgave people for or was moving past. I was still struggling. So I wrote it down and then just I burned it in the grill in the backyard symbolically. And I feel
Mhm.
so much better. So
Yes, it's really releasing.
it's releasing. So that's so healing. So you discover the power of journaling as a child, it sounds like.
Yes, journaling has always been a scapegoat for me because I've always been a intuitive child. So I've always kind of written down how I felt and why I felt that way and why I think I got to whatever conclusion I got to. So it's kind of carried over. I don't think I would ever stop journaling because it helps so much. Just writing down the words can make something become a reality, and it makes you face your fears and face whatever issue it is. And it really helps to solve the issue and get down to the nitty gritty of why whatever issue is happening.
Well, journaling, excuse me, all of a sudden I got something in my throat. But journaling is always a part of the mindfulness practices that I use with my clients for one-on-one when we're doing, whether it's work for grief, or I also offer for releasing the anger and shame of sexual trauma, because I'm a survivor of rape, or also like aging better. I'm over 50, the things that come along with that, the whole menopause thing, the stress with maybe having kids and older parents.
Hmm.
Excuse me, I
Definitely.
just went on mute to cough. All of a sudden, I got a frog in my throat.
Hmm.
Um, um, so journaling is always a part of that when I'm working one-on-one with clients, um, or if I'm doing a workshop, because you have a little longer time, and in that instance, I just want people to journal how they're feeling that moment. They're stepping in that room or that space that they set aside for themselves for 60 minutes. Like wherever they are on their journey, they knew that they needed that 60 minutes for themselves. We found each other somehow. They carved that time out. How are you feeling that moment, that day? And then we compare it at the end of the journal entry. Well, how are you feeling now after that practice? And then hopefully, if they do that with me each time that we meet through our 12-week program or whatever, it's a muscle that they're doing, because you offer people journal prompts. You can't say this is homework, you got to do it, blah blah blah, right? You're adults, but they're there because they want to get better. So if you offer something that can resonate with them and different things to try, because we love journaling. Maybe you've met people who do not like journaling, but I love what you said. So for those people who think they don't love journaling, a bullet point is enough. You don't have to write a paragraph, right?
Right. That's absolutely true. And I do want to say that, like, over the years, like when I was younger, the journaling did work. And now, as an adult, it kind of blossomed into blogging. And then, when
Wow.
you create a blog and you're talking about your own personal experience and things that you learned on the way through your journey, and you see other people messaging you, emailing you, and asking questions and stuff, it reminds you that you're not alone, and it clarifies that your journey is actually helping someone that may not be able to afford therapy or life coaching or be able to afford any extra type of amenities. So finding the blog that has free articles on there that you could just read, all you need to do is sacrifice time to just read the articles, and maybe just like write down your own thoughts about that in particular topic. It really does help.
It totally helps. And you know what, you said something that just totally reminded me. I started this Black Women in Europe blog 18 years, okay, 2006. And I was trying to do the math. We're in 2024. That's 18 years ago when I moved from Brussels to Sweden. And I moved from like, okay, and I'm from DC, Washington, DC. So I was like, okay, this is not Chocolate City anymore. Not, I'm really out here and just needing a community and building a community. And by blogging about other Black women that I found in Europe that are either sports, um, professional athletes, TV presenters, actors, journalists, authors, just like finding like, well, what are Black women doing over here? And getting like you said, the questions and the responses like, oh my God, I'm not alone. I moved here somewhere too, and I don't see a lot of people doing stuff. People don't think that we can do positive things. And so that in itself is healing. You provided a healing platform just by being honest and authentic. And that's something else we had in common. Like, because I was vulnerable. I always say I start everything for a selfish reason. That was
Yeah.
because I needed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, you find out other people need it too. Same thing with the podcast. Makes us more three-dimensional. We can hear our voices and not just see our pictures or read our words, but to hear our voices and what we sound like and to authenticate our
That's a big
stories.
difference.
It's a big difference and it's healing in itself because acknowledgement is healing, right? Not being
Exactly.
ignored, yeah, not being invisible is healing. So, and I'm so grateful that you're a guest on the season for Black Women in Europe season of healing, because healing means so many things and there's so many ways that we need to heal. So I
That's
don't.
so funny. I was just thinking that like healing has several different routes that you can take. It doesn't have to just be one route.
Absolutely not. And thank goodness for that, because, and that's the thing that we want people to know. I'm so glad you said that because some people have a preconceived idea of what it means. Like you said, it doesn't have to be expensive, it's accessible, it can be on your own terms in the privacy of your own home. With technology, it could be in the headphones on your phone while you're on the commuting to work, whether you're listening to some positive affirmations or just something that's going to get you to listen. I don't recommend that anyone listen to a meditation while driving. So I just wanted to put that out there. But if you're taking public transportation, why not? If you feel safe, you don't have to close your eyes to get into a meditative state. I don't ever want anybody to put themselves to be unaware of their surroundings. I have to remind myself of that when I'm in my own yoga studio doing things because I like to try to draw inward and close my eyes. If I lose my balance, I need to know where I am. Do I have something I can grab onto? Where's my space? So please always be aware of your space, whether you're in your own home or out. But these mindfulness practices that are healing can be used in the grocery store line. You can do a quick breath work practice. So talk about some other things that you work with. So life coaching, yoga, we know how you got there and why you're good at it, because I totally believe that, you know, we're offering things like yoga because yoga means something to us. So we know your journey to yoga, we know your journey to life coaching. How did you get to, how did that linked into, or put us on the timeline for the herbalism? That's so powerful.
Yeah, so the herbalism kind of birthed itself through my yoga journey as well, because when I was going to Hot Yoga Deluxe here in Huntsville before they closed, I fell in love with the Hot 26 and 2, aka Bikram yoga practice. And I wanted to get better at it and better at it. And that kind of led me to drinking teas, which I would say I didn't really like drinking like water, really. So it kind of led me to making teas.
So you got
And
more hydrated. You were like, I can't just do straight
yeah.
water. Yeah.
Yeah, because like the hot yoga, like you're in 110 degrees and you have to make sure that you're super hydrated before you do that practice. And I was going like almost like 4 days a week when I was doing that practice. And it kind of, I knew I didn't like water. So I decided to see if I can flavor the water. And that's what led me to teas. And then after I started using the tea bags and understanding like how all of that works, I started getting into like, okay, like how do I make a tea more organically? And that's when I started having a garden and growing my own lemon sage and just different herbs and stuff that I can harvest and use it
Okay,
as
wait a
a
minute,
tea.
Renee, 1 second, because I don't want people to think that they got to have a big piece of land. Were you doing this in your back garden or were you doing it in a pot?
Oh
Like, how?
no, girl!
Oh,
Like I had a porch. Okay, it was a covered porch, and I went to Home Depot and got like 4 different really big pots. So I had a pot garden. Like I didn't
okay.
even have it in the ground
So
or
we can start with a
inside.
pot. Okay, so ladies, we can start with a pot. We don't have to have,
Yeah, like
wait.
literally a pot.
No, fantastic. So you said, I want to do lemon sage. You did some research and you said these are, because I think lemon sage is calming, like, because you said you have anxiety.
Mhm.
So you were like, what's going to help me as
Yep,
well
and
as
then
hydrate me?
I had started with lemongrass, sage, lavender, and I think it was basil. And I had made a tea out of it, and it was so delicious. Like I brewed it and everything, and it was so delicious. And
I
I
bet
was
it
like,
smells
okay,
so good too. I know it smelled good.
yes, like it always made the house smell so good when I would like put it in my double boiler and like boil it. I was like, okay, so
Oh
it
my
smells
goodness, you have
good
a
and
double
it tastes good.
boiler. My mother had a double boiler when she used to make like because she made banana pudding, like whatever that thing, like you had to make the creamy stuff for banana pudding was in the double boiler. Anyway, you had a double boiler. You weren't messing
Yeah,
around. Girl, you old school with a double boiler. What you know about double boilers?
I don't know too much of anything. But I wanted to
Girl,
literally try to do it as like traditionally as possible because I was also using it as like a ritual. Like I was getting into like spirituality. Like the more I dove into um herbalism and spirituality through my yoga practice, I started like feeling like, okay, well, if I make this tea, if I use my spoon and stir it counterclockwise, then that could be like, a little ritual or something. And it really did increase my practice. So I think I actually correctly manifested a good practice every time I did that.
I think that's beautiful that you ritualized it, that you made it a ritual, because I think there's something else that you can help us demystify. Like we just demystified, like you can have your herb garden. You don't need a lot of land. Go to get some pots. Don't have to spend a lot of money. You can start with plastic pots. It's not about a huge investment. The investment is in the change of your attitude and the time shift that you make because you were doing something else. So then you're shifting your time now to something more focused that's going to benefit you. And the fact that you make your whole household feel good, you feel good, that's the other like ripple down benefits that come from it. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's introducing aromatherapy into your household. Lavender, that's calming. The lemongrass, I know that smell good. Lavender smells good. What was those other basil? See, I never thought about drinking basil. I eat it,
It's
but
great for both.
yeah. So I can imagine the smell of that in the air, because I know what basil smells like. So so how far down that path did you go
Well,
to?
I kind of went pretty far because my mother, she always had like a vegetable garden because she loves to eat salads and vegetables, and she likes to grow like these awkward little fruits like a dragon fruit. She
Ooh,
grows her own loofahs as well.
what? The
So
sponges?
yes,
They
she does a
grow?
lot when it comes to that. And I kind of piggyback off of her when it came to herbalism and gardening because I kind of see it as the same thing because you can't do herbalism without gardening. you know,
Exactly. Just deciding on what you're gonna grow, but you're absolutely right. You got to grow your herbs. That's right.
Absolutely. And she always had a vegetable garden. So I asked her, could I borrow like a side, like a small little corner so I can grow like some herbs. And then once I harvest the herbs that I grew, she got into it too because she actually enjoyed the tea as well.
That's what I'm saying. That's a ripple down benefit. It's for your whole household. You think
Yes.
you're doing it for you, but then people can smell it and see how it's benefiting you and they want a part of it. That's beautiful. So, wow. Okay, wow. Okay, continue, please.
Yeah, so after that, like it's been an ongoing thing. Now like I started with the pot gardens because like I didn't want to grow anything in the ground because we didn't have a big yard and we also had a dog as well and I didn't want to like, dig up the dirt and, some other stuff would be in it. So
I get
I decided on the pot garden. And then after that, I personally decided to start trying to grow indoors because like when the seasons change, there's certain things that you can and can't grow, and then you have to wait
Mhm,
a whole
mhm,
2 seasons for summer
mhm,
and fall to come back around. So
mhm.
I tried to I did learn how to grow indoors. So I have like a seedling shelf so I can start my seeds indoors, and I have like a space heater in the den to like keep everything at room temperature with the lights and stuff. And then I
Girl.
have I went into hydroponic um towers and planter gardens for inside and all that stuff. So I can actually grow year round just by growing indoors.
So you really went for, because I see those hydroponic things and think, so you're like living in a garden, like an indoor garden. It's like green
Yes.
all year round.
Absolutely. And it's only because like I feel like I would save money from going to the grocery store or the farmers market when I could just grow it myself. And if I have too much of it, then I just like donate it to the local farmers out here and they can figure out what they want to do with it. um, but it saves me a lot of money and then it's organic. So I know that there's no pesticides or anything that I wouldn't want to eat on it or like, filmed wax and stuff that we find on our apples and oranges and stuff. So it just makes me feel better about being able to grow indoors, whether it's herbs or vegetables. So me and my mom kind of like double teamed that a little bit.
And also the satisfaction of seeing something grow, it's nothing like that. And it tastes so much better.
It
And
really does.
it's hard to explain and talk about like no middleman. It's like they talk about farm to table. You're like from pot to table, from pot to plate. It's just going straight, or from pot to, yeah, from pot to pot, because it's going from your growing pot to your teapot. See, we get
Absolutely.
clever now. We're getting clever now. We can come up with some little phrases. So how have
Yeah,
you?
and the funny thing is that my dad even got on board because he was like, "Oh, it's going to save us money. Well, go ahead. You can use this corner of the yard. Y'all can do this. Y'all can do that." Because he's really frugal and he's kind of a survivalist. So he's like, "Well, if we don't have to spend money, then and this is going to, the harvest is going to be better than going to the grocery store. Then let's do it."
And then remember how crazy things were in the height of the pandemic? How was your garden
Mhm.
going then? You all had your own food. Y'all were probably thinking, see, we got our own food.
Absolutely. Like my dad, he collects seeds. My mom collects seeds, and I started collecting seeds once I caught on to everything. Once my herbalism journey started, so we have a pretty good collection of seeds. So and I'm currently trying to get my dad to understand how we're growing inside, because he's like, how are you doing this indoors? Because he's super traditional, and he's like, I got to get a plow, I got to get space, we need to buy another piece of land, we need to do this and that. And I'm like, Dad, no. You just need to
But
open
I
up the
like
den
his
and we'll.
vision. I like his vision. He's like, let's get some more land. Let's do this. But I know, so you're introducing him to different techniques. He's bringing his enthusiasm and old school knowledge. That's a wonderful
Yeah. And
thing.
it was really exciting for me and my mom, because my dad is a stickler. So like he doesn't really like change for real, but like if it's something that's going to help him save money, he's on board.
Well, you know what? Hats off to your dad and all the dads. My dad was frugal. They want to make sure that nobody's running out of anything, and it can seem funny for us sometimes, but when you think about what it means to be a dad and then they take it seriously, it's like, okay, that's my dad. Okay, I'm going to bring him on to hydroponics. We're going to do this. So that's exciting. So are you able to help people in the community with this? It's like, it's your family. It started with you, then it got to your family. Has it expanded outside of that?
I don't think that it expanded outside of that. That's something that I would have to ask my mom, because like if we overgrow, and because my mom has like two big old freezers, and she'll like freeze the extra stuff that she thinks she's gonna need and put it in the freezer and then defrost it when she needs it. But she literally overgrows a lot of stuff. So like she usually donated to the local farmers, and
So
let
the
them kind of
answer
do what
is
they want.
yes, Renee. It has expanded to the community. The answer is yes. You donate what you know what I mean, and that's fantastic. You're
Well,
donating
yeah,
nothing
because
away.
we don't like to throw away anything that's good, so we
No.
do kind of donate to the farmers.
Yeah, you're not wasting anything. And I love your mom. I'm like, ooh, ooh, I have a deep freezer. I love a freezer. Save what you can. And I don't know if you learned this trick. I read it somewhere, but like your chives and basil and different herbs that you can chop them up. Okay, if you take an empty ice cube tray, chop them up, and fill the ice cube tray with the herbs, and then top it up with like olive oil, and then you just pop that and put that in the pan when you cook.
Yeah, sometimes my mom, she would make like a lotion out of some of them.
Ooh.
She'll make soaps and stuff, because she's retired. She's a retired Air Force pilot, so she's trying to find like different stuff to do, and she'll make her own soap. And then when I'm asking her like, "Mom, I gotta go shopping because I'm out of soap, I'm out of like lotion and stuff," and she'll be like, "Well, just come over here and get some of mine because I already made some."
I love homemade skincare. Fantastic. And it sounds like she's incorporating the herbs from your garden. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, she definitely is, especially the lavender. Her favorite is the lavender.
Wow. Okay. So we're healing our bodies, our skin, through the aromatherapy. That's so filling, that's calming, that's stress relieving. We're doing the yoga, which is the mindful movement. We're doing the journaling. All of that is anxiety and stress releasing. It helps you release depression, grief. It can help with so many things in the stress. The life coaching can help you come up with a plan so you don't feel like you don't have focus. The herbs, the
Absolutely.
calming.
I'm actually working with a organization that's here locally in Huntsville, Alabama. They are called North 57 Northampton, and they are a nonprofit organization in Huntsville, Alabama, that caters to mental health services. And it's for
Oh,
people that don't necessarily have insurance to pay for therapy sessions or life coaching sessions. Um, but it's dedicated to mental health, and they do online sessions. So like you could be anywhere in the world and still be able to utilize their services. And they have several different licensed counselors, licensed psychiatrists, licensed psychologists, And they're adding on life coaching, which is where I come in, because I also work with them with Stephology Hive, with the life coaching practices that I have there. So if anybody needs any personal help or anything like that, please check out 57northampton.com. They cater to the Black community, whether you're a man or a woman. And if you need help, they do have the resources that are available to you without the access of insurance.
Oh, wow, fantastic. Is that new? Is that a new resource?
They actually been around for a while, and I am getting into a contract with them through my life coaching practice in Selfology Hive, to provide life coaching practices for them. But they've been around in Huntsville for about 4 years or so, probably even longer. But I just found out about them probably about 6 months ago, which is fantastic because they're literally right in front of me and I didn't even know.
Well, you know how some things pop up when you need to see them, but it's good to know that's a trusted resource that didn't just pop up overnight. They've been around for a little while. People can check out their website, see what they're doing. Now that you know who Renee Lucas is with Tranquil Yoga Studio, she's going to be a trusted resource there through her life coaching. I'm going to have all her links. She's a published author. She talked about her poetry book. She's a life coach. She has an online yoga studio. She's also a personal trainer. Are you offering those services right now?
I
Personal.
do every now and then. I do offer personal training services. I also offer fitness coach consulting as well. And that all kind of goes through the Tranquil Yoga Studio business that I have. And it kind of all combines together. So yeah, I do a little bit of consulting and help make meal plans for people because I am a certified nutritionist as well. Um, and
Okay, wait a
you
minute.
know,
How do we almost get to the end of the podcast and we're just saying you're a certified nutritionist? Because I got 1,000 questions for that. Okay.
there's so much stuff that I'm certified in.
And I love that. And I dived into nutrition and got certifications for certain things. I'm not a certified nutritionist, but I've taken different courses when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and decided to completely change my food and see how that impacted, autoimmune and inflammation and all of that. So I'm fascinated by that. So, okay, fantastic. So all of these services from nutrition to life coaching, excuse me, to yoga practices can be found under Tranquil Yoga Studio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I
Yes.
got a clog in my throat again, so I trailed off. But I mean, I will make sure everyone knows about this. And they can find your book where? Where can we find your book of poetry?
So it's going to be available on Amazon. You can also find the link for it on cephologyhive.com. The Cephology Hive website is also linked on my Tranquil Yoga Studio menu website. So if you go to Tranquil Yoga Studio, you'll be able to see the link for the books and the life coaching services and things of that nature. So either website that you go to, you'll be able to find it.
Okay. And if I could ask a favor, if you could look back at however old you were when you started on this journey, because you said you knew you had anxiety, you had already been journaling, you knew I had a good job, but I'm bored. I'm not doing what I need to be doing to make myself the best. If you like, what message do you have for people now? If you could look back, like, I just think you have such a fantastic story. If you could sum it up, like, what's your message for people who may think there's no way I can do what she's done? I don't have the resources, the time, the capability. Like, what's your like final message for someone to just take the first step?
So, when it comes to the first step, the first thing that I had to understand is that I'm not going to be perfect. And nothing in the world is perfect. And there's going to be a lot of people that's already done what you have done. But you are the person that makes it different. So do it anyway. And the people that resonate with it, because the key word here is resonation. Okay. The people that resonate with it will come to you. And sooner or later, if you stay consistent and you don't give up, you will create a community that will back you, and it would uplift you to continue to grow and continue to motivate, and it will blossom from there. Now, wherever your journey takes you is where it takes you, but you can't not try. You have to start somewhere. So just start.
I love
And
that,
that,
Renee. No,
yeah,
Renee, I
that would
love
be my
that.
message, because the hardest part is starting,
The
but
harder
after
part
you
is
get
starting.
started,
So now I'm going
yeah.
to ask you for something else. I'm going to ask you for something else because that was so beautiful. So what message will you give that person who started and is struggling?
Don't give up. Don't give up. Find a way to make sure that your message is resonating with you. And the only way that you can do that is to be authentic and continue to do what you love to do. And make sure that you post those things. So even if it's not perfect, nothing has to be perfect. The authenticity of your content is the thing that's going to resonate. So make sure that you understand exactly what resonating means, and continue to do what you have been doing if you really love it.
Okay, key takeaways for me from what you said is like that it resonates with you. And that's what this is all about. This whole healing thing and everything that you're doing. The reason I'm out here is because it was selfish. I needed the Black Women in Your podcast because I was out here alone and I needed it. So I wasn't afraid to put myself out there. So that's what I just heard you say. If it resonates with you,
Absolutely.
yeah, don't be afraid, and look at what that's turned in for me. Now, one last thing, because I think maybe me and you have something that some maybe other people don't have, and they don't want to necessarily be seen in the same way. I think the journaling there is very important because that is, can you just say one last time how powerful it is, empowering it is to see your words and feelings down on paper?
So, the most important part of journaling for me personally is making it real. And when you keep it in your head, of course you think it's real, but when you say something out loud, or you read something, and read it out loud and put it on paper, it becomes real in different ways. And journaling, that's how powerful journaling is, because there's a lot of things going on in our minds. But until you say it out loud, if you're not even ready to say it out loud, if you write it down and then read it to yourself, or if you're able to read it out loud, it makes it real, and then it creates growth from there.
Oh, so well said. Thank you. Because I wanted to make sure, because I know for us, we've been able to find it comfortable to make our stories public. For those who don't necessarily have that need or whatever it is, writing it down and saying it out loud or just reading it can be is equally as powerful. I don't want people to think it's one way or the other. It's a combination.
Absolutely. And like when you do journal, it's not about like keeping it a secret. It's not about not letting nobody read it. That's not the point of journaling. The point of journaling is to get your personal thoughts onto paper. And then, even if you can't read it out loud, you can read it in your head, read it to yourself, and keep it. And then you can look back on it. And when you get to a point where you have enough courage to say the words out loud, that's when the real growth begins. But at least you have it down on paper, so you know exactly where the starting point of this pain, the
And you know
starting
that
point
it's
of grief
real.
is.
Yeah, because Renee, when you see it on paper, it's real. Because sometimes you're like, this is just in my head. But when you see it on
Exactly.
paper, you're like, no, this is real. This I wrote this person, me in my human form, wrote this day, this hour. This happened. No one can say this isn't real. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of
Exactly.
things that can be powerful just with journaling. So if nothing else, with all that Renee Lucas and Tranquil Yoga Studio have to offer, I want you to I really hope, dear podcast listener, that you embrace, or not, you don't even have to embrace it, but explore the power of journaling as Renee embodies it, as I can second it. Like, can I get an amen? Like, I can say yes,
Amen.
amen, that it works. And hopefully it will lead to the healing that you need, and maybe even open up other avenues. Like Renee started her yoga and then ended up being a life coach, and then through the yoga ended up getting into herbalism, and it ended up, you know what I mean? So if you start
Yeah,
these things,
it really does lead to different paths, and you kind of just have to let it just, manifest itself, and don't be afraid to dabble into something that you never dabbled into before, because I never thought that I would have been a certified herbalist. I never thought that I would have been a personal trainer and all of that stuff. But it's part of the journey, and you have to go through it to figure out, like what's best for you. And then once you go through the journey, then you'll know exactly what to focus on if you haven't already found a focus on your own.
see, there you go. You don't have to have it all figured out. You only have to
Exactly.
know that something maybe isn't as good as it could be. You don't even have to think that something's wrong, because life isn't about right, wrong, good, or bad, but just to even know, or to love, or to be that curious enough about yourself to see, you know what, I'm a little bored. I got a good job. I'm living kind of good, but I'm a little bored. That's Renee. Like, and look at her now, like 15 different million things later, helping everyone,
Exactly.
doing amazing things. Renee, I want to thank you so much for taking this time out of your busy day from Huntsville, Alabama. They're so
Yeah.
lucky to have you. They're so lucky to have you. And so is the Black women in your community. Thank you for being part of our global community and providing services that we can all access online. I want you to be so well. I'm so proud of you. And I'm going to be following you. We're connected. I keep following you, see what you're doing. And anytime you want to come back and talk about some good stuff, you're more than welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. And I appreciate that so much, because there's so many new things going on now. And next time I'll be more than overjoyed to tell you about it.
Yay! Okay. See you next time, dear listeners.
Thank you.
Hey, we hope you
Shut up
enjoyed that
and sit
episode from
down.
season 4, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, be well.